On this episode of Doing the Most, we are going to make cider from apples. I make this episode not to show you how easy and simple and fun it is to make cider. I'm making this video to show you how complicated it can be. On average, you get around 1 gallon of juice for every 20 pounds of apples, so I have 100 pounds of apples here to make cider from, and we're going to be doing this pet nat style, meaning we're going to bottle it before fermentation is finished, so that way it's naturally sparkling in the bottle. My friend Garrett from Man-Made Mead was supposed to help me with this project, but this freaking
Listen,
guy,
I got a little busy.
life got in the way, so I'm doing this all on my own. So first, let me show you my adventure to get the apples. We are here at Urban Agrarian, run by my friend Chelsea, and I'm going to pick up 100 pounds of Jonathan apples to make cider. Urban Agrarian is a really cool local grocery store. Big shout out to Chelsea for helping me acquire all these apples. They came from Live Say Orchard in Porter, Oklahoma, and they are all Jonathan apples. It takes a lot of gear and equipment to make cider from scratch, and so here's a quick rundown of everything we're going to use today. First, we're going to have to quarter all of these apples, and then they're going to go into the crusher to be crushed. And then after that, they'll go into my fruit press so we can press out the juice, and then we will add some yeast and get it fermenting. We're going to use Saf Cider AB1 for this because I really don't want to screw this up. One of the more interesting elements of making cider from apples is that you need to sweat the apples. And that involves basically leaving them outside in the shade for like a week or two until they start to become really squishy. Like you can press your thumb, I don't know if you can see that, you can press your thumb into it and make a dimple. And that's what you're looking for in a cider apple, is you want it to be kind of dimply. And that tells you that you're gonna get as much of the sugars out of there as you probably can before they start rotting. And you'll see some of these apples are kind of gross looking, and that's okay. It's a sign of excellence. This is our first 20 pounds of apples. As you can see, the 6-gallon bucket, it's up to about the 5-gallon mark. So quite a bit of apples. I'm gonna go ahead and take these over and run them through the crusher. Hopefully that goes well. Never used this crusher before. And hopefully we can cut down on some of the wasted space in this bucket, because I only have 2 6-gallon buckets sanitized for this. So I might have to go dig out a third. We'll find out. So that first 20 pounds of apples filled up that 6-gallon bucket about 2/3 of the way. So I'm gonna have to work around volume issues as I figure all this out. I might have to like employ the use of my cooler or something to store some of this stuff in. But we'll get it figured out and we'll get these pressed. I have got another 80 pounds of apples that I need to cut up though. So I'm gonna be a little busy for a while. This is a lot of work and it's hot. I'm sweating my ass off out here. And the flies can smell the apples because everything is getting covered with flies out here. So it's just like a constant trying to swish them away. It smells good. The apples smell very good. Excited. You know, the first box or so is a lot of fun. I feel like you're really doing something. Then you get about, I don't know, 50 pounds in, and the novelty wears off quick. The last apple, the last one. Then we just have to crush this 20 pounds and we will have crushed 100 pounds of apples. All of our apples are crushed. Now it is time to press them. So I'm very familiar with this part. I've used my press quite a few times. So we're going to get this all loaded up, and we'll have to do this in batches because there's no way I can get all of these through one round of my 5-gallon press. It's probably going to take 3 or 4, maybe 5 rounds. And we'll see how much juice we get out of this. Hopefully it's 5 gallons. Hopefully.
Got no plans today. Got some apples in the fridge, gonna make them sway. Gonna grab my gear, don't need to go too far. Just a little bit of patience and some love for that jar. And by jar, I mean carboy. Okay? It's some love for the jar. I'm sure you get the analogy. Jar equals carboy. Got it? Bucket on the counter, it's time to start. Crushing all the apples, yeah, that's the art. Mix in some sugar, some spice and yeast. Gonna let it bubble up and party like a beast. Feel the fizz, the magic's on the rise in my cider lab. Brewing up the dopest prize. Got my tools and my tools, it's a DIY delight. Watch it turn from fresh fruit into something out of sight. Homebrew cider, sipping on my drink. Kicking back, relaxing, what's that I think? Got my own brew, it's the sweetest delight. Homebrew cider, yeah, we're feeling alright. Raise your glass high, let's celebrate the day. Cheers to the brew and the recipe. Homemade joy in every single sip. Cider dreams come true with some craftsmanship. Homebrew cider, sipping on my drink. Kicking back, relaxing, what's that I think? Got my own brew, it's the sweetest delight. Homebrew cider, yeah, we're feeling alright. Raise your glass high, let's celebrate the day. Cheers to the brew and the recipe. Homemade joy in every single sip. Cider dreams come true with some craftsmanship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bottles on the shelf, labels on my mind. Got 5 gallons of the deal, but I'm still on the grind. In a week or so, when it's ready to pour, it'll be so crisp, you'll be begging for more. Ha-ha. Yeah, you'll be begging for more.
Yeah. You'll be begging for more.
You'll be begging for more. No need for expensive or high-end scenes. Just my apples and me, living out my dreams. Friends coming over, they can't get enough. Let's make another keg of that apple stuff. Feel the fizz, the magic's on the rise in my cider lab. Brewing up the dopest prize. Got my tools and my tools, it's a DIY delight. Watch it turn from fresh fruit into something out of sight. Homebrew cider, sipping on my drink. Kicking back, relaxing, what's that I think? come true with some craftsmanship. Homebrew cider, sipping on a drink, kicking back, relaxing. What's that I think? Got my own brew, it's the sweetest delight. Homebrew cider, yeah, we're feeling alright. Raise your glass high, let's celebrate the day. Cheers to the brew and the recipe. Homemade joy in every single sip. Cider dreams come true with some craftsmanship.
Okay, we got just shy of 4 gallons of juice, which is kind of a bummer. I was hoping for 5 gallons, but these were kind of dry apples. They weren't super juicy. So we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna put in 13 grams of Fermade K, a nice healthy pinch of Lalzyme EXV, which is a commercial grade pectic enzyme to help break up some of the pulp in here. And we'll see how this goes. I expect that we'll be bottling this in 3 or 4 days. Starting gravity was 1.055, kind of high. Okay, nutrient goes in. And like I said, we're gonna do just a big old pinch of Lalzyme. It is very, very potent stuff. Like, the pinch I'm putting in here could probably work on like, I don't know, like a crate of apples, not 4 gallons of juice. That's a lot. I know it doesn't look like it, but it's a lot. Okay, now we need some yeast. We're going to use 2 packets of yeast. Lid goes on. And we'll let this ferment. It has been 43 hours since we pitched our yeast into this cider, and it's already down to 1.001 and starting to creep lower. So we've got limited time to get this into bottles so it can carbonate itself properly. So I've sanitized all of our bottles, got all of our gear and equipment sanitized, and I'm gonna get this into bottles and capped so we can capture the rest of the carbonation that is gonna be generated by the yeast in the bottle. This is a really rustic way of doing this. You're gonna end up with a lot of sediment and kind of a hazy cider on the other end of things. That's fine. That's characteristic of the style. So, 43 hours since we pitched our yeast and we're already bottling. Amazing. Perhaps somewhat unusual, we are going to be using a nut milk bag as a filter as we rack. So I'm just going to get that attached to the racking cane and use it to keep any fruit matter from getting into our bottles. Okay.
Oh, slight hiss.
Slight hiss.
How much carbonation are you expecting?
It should just be pétillant.
Okay, okay.
Because it, out of
was
an
0.05
abundance of
basically?
caution, 1.001.
Oh, yeah, so yeah, that's gonna be...
Out of an abundance of caution, I bottled it lightly carbonated because I didn't want to blow up a glass.
That's got some, yeah, that's pétillant. I'm so used to things mostly going to 1.0 that it very well could have gone past.
I don't know, because I'm not familiar with the ingredient. So I decided to go on the safe side, and I think I got a nice pétillance in there, which is good, because all of these bottles have been in a trash bag in my garage for the last week. So now I'm going to move them inside the house.
Remind me of the apple varietal.
They're called Jonathan apples. And they're supposedly very tart apples. I made the mistake of not eating one, so I have no idea what they tasted like.
200 pounds, you didn't eat a single one.
I understand they're supposed to be tart. And I sweated them for a week, almost 2 weeks, and so they should have had plenty of sugars.
Right.
Which it was 1.055 starting gravity, so it was actually fairly high for apple juice.
When I use like standard apple juice, it's like around then. It's like 1040, 1045, something like that. So that's good.
All right.
Shall we?
It's got some floral notes in there, despite not having any honey. There's definitely a buttery.
You can tell it's
note.
not a super sweet apple. on the nose for sure. It's not green apple-y territory where it's like tart.
But it definitely has that little bit of a bite
Yeah.
in there. A little bit of an apple bite.
I'm ready.
All right. To one of the most expensive things I've ever made.
Ooh, that's good.
That is bright.
That's very bright. It's definitely young. You get
Yeah.
a greeny, but like, I feel like you don't have to talk about that here because it's expected. If it's 9 days old, 10 days old, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever had Vino Verde. It's a wine out of South America, like from grape to glass. It is young, and it has this. They call it Vino Verde because it tastes green. It's very vibrant and refreshing.
Yeah.
But it's got that young bite. This definitely reminds me of that style.
The acid profile is interesting too because it's definitely obviously malic acid heavy. We already know that, but I feel like it slightly has some citric. That's like a undertone there too.
There's a little bit of a zestiness, like an orangey kind of character in there. My understanding is after this ages, it's supposed to be rich and like nutty. You're supposed to get.
I could see where this would go. What's interesting is very rarely have I aged something that is 7% for 2 years. You know what I mean? So that's what's interesting to me. I wonder how that element is going to change. I think it's got a great starter point. And honestly, I would drink this even with it being green. You know, if you poured this to me and said, "Hey, I made a cider," you didn't tell me the age, I'd say it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like,
it tastes youthful, but it's got a nice fizz, and in a couple years we'll have our final taste test of what this tastes like at maturity. And we've already invested in all the gear now.
it's true.
So this is going to be an annual thing. Every year we're going to find some apples and
Maybe some Perry,
maybe we'll do a Perry.
barring they don't have a kid at the exact same time.
I'll let you take the lead next year too.
Can do.
Well, until next time, happy brewing. Check him out over at Man Made Mead. And cheers.
Cheers.
Homemade brews and various how-tos, everything from mead to roast, baked creation, fermentation, inebriation, doing the most. Ta-da.